One time back in 1974, I was sitting there on my bar stool in Ethel's bar when in walked my friend Gary. Now, Gary had a big old smile on his face and he sat down beside me. I said, Gary, why are you so happy? He says, well, Homer, I pulled my boat around to the front yard and I was sitting there and I was waxing that thing. He says, along came this beautiful redhead. He says, now, Homer, she had titties out to here. And he says, she was looking at my boat and she asked me if I'd take her for a ride. So I said, yeah, I will. So we loaded up that boat, took off, went down to the water, and I took her out about 6 or 7 miles, and I stopped the boat, and I looked at her. I said, it's either swim or screw. She says, I don't know how to swim. So we screwed, and he says, Homer, that was great. He says, I brought her back in, and here I am. And then the next week, I was sitting there, and old Gary walks in again. He's got a big old smile on his face. And he sits down beside me. I said, Gary, why are you so happy? He says, Homer, he says, I pulled my boat around, and he says, I was out there waxing it again, and along came this beautiful brunette. And she was looking at my boat, looking at me, and he says, Homer, she had titties out to here too, just like that old redhead last week. And he says, so she asked me if I'd take her out in the boat, and I said, yeah, sure. So I took her out, got out 6 or 7 miles, stopped the boat, and I said, it's either swim or screw. She says, I don't know how to swim. So we screwed, and it was great, Homer. It was great. So I brought her back in, and here I am at Ethel's bar. So then the next week I'm sitting there, and old Gary comes walking in, and Gary looks terrible. I mean, he's all disheveled and sad, and he sits down beside me. I said, Gary, what's the matter? He says, same as last week, Homer. He says, I pulled my boat around in the front yard and I was out there waxing it, and along came this beautiful, beautiful blonde. And he goes, she had some big old titties out here. And he says, she looked at my boat and she says, would I take her out? And I said, sure. So we went out there in the water, and about 6 or 7 miles, I stopped the boat and I said, it's either swim or screw. And so she pulled off her clothes and she had a wiener. And Homer, I don't know how to swim. My name's Homer Knott from 6 Mile Creek in Tampa, Florida. If you like my jokes and stories, click like